much. It's time to proceed. We're going to start our meeting today. We'd like to welcome those in the county here and any members that's from the public for here. We'd like to excuse Marquis again today. She's working on elections. I don't know, election problems or just elections. She has been. This has been kind of a big job for her this year. So we'd like to start with Bonnie, our auditor's going to give us a word of prayer, and then I will lead us in the pledge.
Our dear kind Heavenly Father, we're thankful for this day. We're thankful that we could meet here today, and please ask a special blessing on the leaders here today, that they can make wise and considerate decisions. And we ask those that are serving in the military be watched over, and those in public safety. We see these things humbly in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Please stand and follow me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Is there any opening statements? Anybody got any comments? Seeing none, you have the minutes, so any comments or discussions on the minutes from our previous meeting, November 7th, which was last week?
I noticed one thing that we probably should.
Okay, go ahead.
On page 3, line number 40. Right there after it says right voted, we probably need to put a space in there, unless my copy's different than everybody else's. Other than that, I didn't notice anything.
Okay, did you get that, Kayla? I need a motion.
I make a motion to approve the minutes for November 7th, 2023 with the approved change.
I second that motion.
I have a motion to second to approve the minutes of November 7th, 2023 with the approved change. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Is there any follow-up items in the minutes that we don't have on the agenda or we need to follow up on, or any comments? If not, we'll go into the next item, possible Board of Equalization BOE discussion and or action. I need a motion to enter into BOE.
I make a motion to enter into BOE.
I second that
I
motion.
have a motion to second. We enter into BOE. In discussion of that? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Go ahead. Who's here? Matt? You want to come forward? Vicki, do you want to?
So we have Matthew Kessler here for his, so we'll let him present his case, and the assessor will do that as well.
We have our auditor here. Okay, so we have your information, Matt. So the way this will proceed is in BOE, you can go ahead and go through the numbers and take the time you need to express your positions or what you would like your requests, I guess. And then what we'll do is go ahead and turn some time over to the auditor. And the assessor. You knew I knew that, didn't you?
Yes.
Thanks for correcting me. Turn some time over to the assessor, and then she can discuss her opinions or why it was done this way. And then at that point in time, we'll go to the board if they have any questions or anything. So if you would pull the mic close to you, go ahead and you've signed the roll, but go ahead and state your name and we'll proceed.
Okay, my name is Matthew Kessler. I'm here to just address a few things. Our taxes have gone up about 3.5 times since 2020. Our home is, we've got 3 parts to our home. The first part was built in 1949, and it contains it does have the original asbestos tile in the front room there. We have a single wide trailer next to the house, and we also combined them two a few years ago. I just think it was appraised a little bit too high. One thing that I did at a comparison with the neighbor next to me, and if you need to know the tax number, it was 6768-1. Their home was 2,200 square feet. It was appraised at 181,809, and that calculates out to be $82 per square foot. Their home was 20 years old. So our home is around 2,600 square foot. Ours was appraised at 247,091, which equals about $95 a square foot being next door. And our house is, I took the average age of the house between the three different parts, and it was 44 years old. So we're quite a bit higher there. Also, the agricultural building doubled in 1 year, and all that is a hay shed. So the replacement cost, even the replacement cost would be way substantially less than it's appraised for. So that's where I'm coming from.
All right, anything else? Have you got any, I mean, you've made some of your comparisons. You don't have any appraisals or anything on the values?
No.
Okay.
Well, take that back. The bank did an appraisal probably 2 years ago, and it was right around $200,000.
Okay. Do you have that?
I don't.
Okay. So, Laura, have you made any adjustments, or then we'll turn some time over you? Has Matt talked to you previous to now? Have you made any adjustments to what was originally sent out or not?
We have not made any adjustments.
Okay, do you want to pull the mic close to you and go ahead and...
Is that better?
Yes, that's
Okay.
better. I'm sorry.
All right, so the information that we were given for this was basing it off of, so I'm just going to address each one of these. The information regarding the mobile home that was attached. So one of the things that was brought up was that according to HUD, mobile homes have an average expectancy of 42.5 years. It depends on if you've altered them or modified them. He mentioned that mortgages and insurance are not offered on manufactured homes built before 1976. You cannot get one through HUD, but you can get a conventional loan on an earlier mobile home than that. We did talk to some of our locals, our realtors, and one of them, when we asked her about that, she said that with a lot of our older homes, the potential for asbestos is factored in. Our older homes do sell for less than newer homes, and that has been factored in. This one's not being treated as a newer home. It is being treated for being a little bit older.
So why is my square footage a lot higher than the neighbors?
You never brought up the neighbors one, so I wouldn't know without looking at their files. That was not anywhere in the paperwork that was sent to me. So with this, one of the points he brought up was the home has an addition with no plumbing. Bathrooms and kitchens have plumbing, living rooms, bedrooms. So depending on the use of the addition, not having plumbing doesn't necessarily mean anything. If it's your living room normally wouldn't have plumbing in it anyways. Or if it's a bedroom doesn't have plumbing in it. And then as for the shed, that one was valued through our system with MLS. It was measured off of that, not MLS, sorry, Marshall and Swift. We included pictures of the hay shed just so that we know what we are talking about. Let me grab that paper right here. So with the hay shed pole barn, we did break it down to how big it is. It's, this one was measured on GIS maps. It's approximately 2,290 square feet. And two parts of it are more like lean-tos. We are valuing the two parts as lean-tos and the hay shed center as a hay shed.
So
that's that.
so how do you value, how's it valued from last year to this year?
With last year to this year, we have updated cost tables on a lot of our structures.
My question is, what other hay shed did you take a comparable from?
We've got hay sheds all over the county. This is being valued the same way those other hay sheds are being valued.
So every hay shed in the county doubled then?
Some of them did.
What about the ones that didn't?
I would have to go through and look at all of them. That's not the point. What we are doing is we're looking at this one in particular. The hay shed is being consistently valued with how all of our other hay sheds in the county have been valued with the same codes and everything. And so that is why we
I
did
just
not make an
object to
adjustment
that.
on that.
They can't even show me what other hay sheds they're comparing.
Well, she can't right now, but obviously, I think she could if you. later
It's
we
based
can
off the
sit-
codes,
we
yes.
can
So
sit and-
all of our hay sheds are being valued based off of the same information. Do they vary in value? Yes. Some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller. It's,
We actually did one just our last BOE that was doubled as well,
yes.
here in Fillmore.
Well, I'm not in Fillmore, though.
One of the things that we try to do as far as the board is to make sure we're consistent. And if we need to, we're not going to do this in this BOE, but I'm sure our assessor would be willing to sit down and show you others and that's consistent. I mean, that's important to us that we're consistent. I mean, everything goes up or down or whatever, but what we need to make sure that we don't start picking and choose where the ups and downs is going to be and try to become consistent. Now, I'm not saying that's easy to do, but I think our assessor could possibly, if she's used the formula, she could possibly show, where that formula is consistent with others. But go ahead and go on.
Well, that's just, so we just included photos of what structures we're talking about, and those were the points that were brought up in the protest that we were given. It's being valued consistently with other houses and how they have been valued.
Bonnie, do you have a comment? Go ahead.
According to the standards of practice,
Get close to the mic, please.
according to the standards of practice, any other comparables need to be provided to the assessor. She has the right to review those as well. And according to the standards, she gets 10 days to review those if you want to consider that, the comparable that he's brought forward today.
All right. Is that something you'd?
Well, the thing is I've been out of town for the last couple of weeks, and they did call me, your office did call me, let me know. They didn't say 10 days, but they said several days. But one thing that, I feel like I should bring up is that their office is on a different piece of property in town here. I had it posted, and one of their assessors who doesn't work for the office anymore came on the property while I was there to look around, and I asked her if she had permission to get on the property, and she said no. And I said, well, you need to get permission. And she said, well, I can take my signs off my car and come in anyways. So I felt like that was a little violation of property rights. Very disrespectful to me as an owner of property. The Fourth Amendment talks about being secure in our persons and houses and so forth, and I don't feel like I was secured there with government overreach. So anyhow, I'm just telling you, their office has been very disrespectful for over 10 years when Pat Manus was in too. So I just need to make sure that I told them, if they want to get permission to come on the property, they got to go through the right channels. They can't just show up.
Okay, thank you. Maybe, and I can't clarify that. Pat's here. Pat, you didn't hear the question. Would you know or have an opinion, and maybe Laura would? Matt says that when the assessor comes or a county agent comes on the property to do assessments and that, What legal right do they have to walk, enter property, or do stuff? Do they need to have permission of the landowner? Can you give us a little, I'm sure you was out when he was asking the question. He felt that as a county, we haven't been respectful of his property rights. Have you got just a comment on that? Because I don't even know, really.
I don't know the specific answer to that. I mean, obviously, there is a general prohibition of government agents entering on property without either permission or warrant. There exceptions have been carved out over the years by the U.S. Supreme Court and by other courts. I don't know without looking how that applies to the assessment.
Yeah, I wouldn't think you might.
The alternative is they're just going to assess that based on their street view, and it's not going to be accurate, and they're always going to assess high. I mean, if they can't access the property to get an accurate assessment, they're going to assess it based on the street view of the property.
Well, they have other tools, Google Maps and stuff, too.
Okay, so, well, I'm going to go to you if you would have some help on that question. Maybe you...
I can't account for
Being
how
an
it was.
assessor, you probably understand more than any of us what your rights, the office are.
Yeah, so I can't account for how it has been done in the past. I wasn't there. I
Have
have
we
not
done
been
it correctly in the past, or you don't know? Okay.
I can't.
Maybe we can all answer
Yeah.
that question.
I can tell you that our office now, if there's no trespassing signs or anything like that, we do contact the owner, or we assess from the street.
Okay,
So if we're actually going onto somebody's property, like if they live there and they have structures on the property, we will talk to the owners before we measure it.
it's our general policy that
General
we
policy
do.
is to contact.
So Matt, are you saying that
They have
wasn't,
repeatedly
It wasn't-
violated.
it wasn't followed then? Is
You're
what
correct. And so I'm asking to, I mean, there's proof right there.
Yeah,
In front of that, there's this sign here, specifically says no government agencies. I mean, I don't want to go into all that, but
yeah.
the point, I think you get the point.
Well, we do. I think our assessor gets a point that, I mean, we're not going to go, but we can't go back and change exactly what happened, but as we go forward, I mean, that's why we have these hearings, to be sensitive to what's happening, and if that's a sensitive subject, I'm sure our assessor's office can maybe just make sure that that happens correctly as possible. You know, we have to do our assessments, but, so that objection will be well noted, I think, with our assessor, and that will, and as far as me as a commissioner, will encourage them to follow those policies, so that property rights aren't violated. Sometimes it's maybe difficult, people won't respond, you know, they're hard to get a hold of. I mean, I think we found it's not easy to communicate with everybody, but as long as we should show, and as far as my opinion, our assessor's office, we hope and we should show respect and a good faith in going forward and as we encounter all these public relationships. We're not asking any more of you than we ask of Bonnie or Adam. He's walking on everybody's place, or us as a commissioner. So we're not pointing out the assessor's office. That should be a policy for us to do a due diligence. If any of our elected officials should respect that. So I don't know if the commissioners have any comment, but hopefully if we're lacking in one area or another, we can do a better job at doing that. So we'll take that as noted. So back to Laura or Matt, before we come to the commission for questions, or if there's none, I'm going to come to the commissioners and see if they have any additions or questions. What will happen is we will discuss this, Matt, and then at a later date, the commission will go where we had maybe a couple. I don't know if we only got one today, but what we did in the past is we've went over the BOEs and made some determination whether to change or leave them the same or what to rule in, okay? So thank you. Let's go to the commission for questions or additions or deletions or anything that might help you clarify what's happening.
Matt, you have a replacement value of $10,000 on the shed. Is that just your estimate, or is that a?
Yes, that's
is that
just,
an actual quote? Because I
So-
looked at the
so-
shed, and it seemed like it'd be a lot more than $10,000 to replace it.
so it cost me in 2019 about $8,500 to replace, to do for the material. Obviously, I did the labor myself, so.
How many square feet is it?
She's pretty close. It's right around the 2,200 square feet.
2,200, your shed is?
And I would say in 2019 was the peak, or at the bottom, of where prices have been in the last 5 years. And since then, prices have doubled.
Well-
And at this moment in time, prices have came down, but we're talking about last year, which was probably peak prices for lumber, for siding, for everything, which in most scenarios it has doubled.
One contractor explained to me, the gauge of pricing is on OSB board, and OSB earlier this year was about the same price as it was in 2019. So,
Back to the commission.
I've written down notes. I do wish we had some more comparables to look at, though. It makes it hard to judge without comparables.
And I do want to emphasize that if you don't want them on your property, expect a higher taxable value. I agree with this came a long ways, but you can't do a good assessment of anything using Google Maps or Google Earth. I don't think that's a valid argument. But if you don't want them on there, then we'll make sure they don't go on there, but expect to see a higher value property assessment. And I'm fine if that's how you feel your property rights are, then great. But they don't come in here and get mad that they didn't do a good job, because a good job is getting on there
I'm not saying they didn't do a good job.
and getting hands-on.
I'm just saying they didn't follow the protocol of, of a no trespassing sign.
Yeah.
Without permission.
I think, and I'm wrong because I'm just assuming, but you have the personality, you're going to tell them no if they call and ask to come on anyways, am I right?
No,
To do this,
no,
you would let them on if they called.
yes. I'd have to ask what they're measuring and what they're, specifically what they're going to do.
Okay. Okay.
Any more questions? Thank you. I guess, is your objection more on the shed than any other thing? Is that,
That's the main ones.
I'm not assessor, I know that the last,
But the home is part of it too, especially how old it is compared with my neighbors. It's quite a bit more per square foot.
Laura, do you see any reason we're out of line on any of these, or?
None that I've seen going through the files.
Would you commit in the future to sit down with Matt and show him those comparisons for buildings?
For what other buildings are being valued at?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. Would that help, Matt? I mean, if you said you need to see those comparisons.
Sure.
Okay. So at this time, thank you for coming in. We'll review these requests and you'll receive a notice of where we're at, okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Let me find my agenda here. Where is my agenda? No, here it is. Next item of business, we're going to go on. I need to go out of BOE.
One more.
Okay, we got one more? Okay. I'm sorry, go ahead. Are you going to
We
present
have
it?
a few more
Vicki?
things, and just for the record, the parcel number on the Kessler property is 6771. Okay, so we also have a stipulation for Western Ag Credit. The parcel number is DO-3218-2. This is the one that we've been waiting for their appraisal. So Assessor Fitch can give more.
Yep, so with this one, for right now, until we have our own county commercial appraisal done on it, we're stipulating to the value that they have through both their appraisal and they have a pending sale on it right now. So $710,000 is what we stipulated to.
So what was their taxes on that last year?
The taxable, I don't know what the taxes were, the value that it's being
I
brought
mean, the
down.
value, I'm sorry, go ahead.
$1,432,329.
Okay. So what was the value this year?
Well, that's what the value was, and we're stipulating down to
And they
$710,000.
agree with this?
They did get their appraisal sent in this morning, and they have a pending sale on that one.
Yeah, they'll have a sale in the, well, they're trying to sell.
Yeah. They said that they had somebody who'd made a verbal agreement to buy it.
Okay.
So
So,
on this, we're going up, that sale is today, not a year ago.
No, the sale is one that they're working on getting the paperwork put together for right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
But the value we're going off last year's value, not what they're selling it at for.
This is a combination of an appraisal that was done on it and what they're selling it for. Since we don't have a commercial appraiser, it's a little bit more difficult for us to. It also, the property itself is in an interesting situation, and so, yeah, this is what we're going with now until we can get our own appraiser to go and take a look at it.
Is this a state bank of Southern Utah did their own appraisal?
No, this is Western Ag Credit.
actually,
is the
Western
owner.
Ag has their own appraisers.
They had somebody do it for them, yeah. I don't know if they're an employee or not, or what exactly the situation is, but they did send over an appraisal this morning.
Okay, to the commission, any questions? Any more discussion? I need a motion to accept or reject the stipulation, I guess.
I make a motion that we accept the stipulation for Western Ag Credit.
No.
Is that a second?
No, that's a no.
That's a no? Okay, I'll second that motion. So I have a motion to accept the stipulation for Western Ag Credit. Discussion. Do you want to give us some discussion to that motion?
No, I just think we're going off of, we're using appraisal that was done now instead of the value it was last year. That's it.
Okay.
If you have more,
It's not.
would you do you want me to elaborate a little bit more with what's gone on with this property? Would that, do you have questions?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
I'm
Okay. No.
I'm good.
Okay, all right. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? One no. Okay, thank you. Motion passes. We'll accept the stipulation.
Thank you. We have a few assessor adjustments. As you know, there was a conversion process, and as we're still discovering a few things as people are receiving their bills. So we have a few of these that need to be
So what are we doing now?
approved. It's just an assessor adjustment. We need approval from the commission for these assessor adjustments. So previously, we had gotten a blanket approval for obvious assessor errors. These are obvious assessor errors. We just need you to approve them.
Okay,
So the first one is owner Farron Ditzer, parcel K-1824-2. This was a case of the home was listed as a non-primary. They completed the survey, it is a primary residence, so the change was to give the primary exemption. The next one is Deborah Zerbs, parcel O-1418-1. This one, it was discovered that this is not a livable house, and so the assessor made an adjustment on that one. The next one is Charles Carling, parcel F-VV-3. This one, after inspection and measuring, the square footage was corrected for the house and the garage. The next one is Bryce Whitaker, parcel 8127. This one, there was an error in the acreage that is, they can't really explain it. The acres came over as 731 acres when there's really only 11.19, and that's a large problem.
difference.
Yeah. The next one is Carson Watts, parcel F-PLVII-11. This one, the error, it was just an assessor's error. And the last one is owner Drex Level, parcel D-3928-1-3-6. This one has no access and should have been backage. So those are the assessor
How many are there there?
adjustments. 1, 2,
6, 7?
3, 4, 6.
Okay, to the commission, you've heard the discussion. To you for a motion to accept or reject the assessor adjustments on these properties. Any questions?
I make a motion, we accept the assessor's adjustments.
Okay, I have a motion.
I second that motion.
I have a motion second that we accept the assessor's adjustments on these properties that's been given to us. Any discussion of that motion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, then you have in front of you also
Pull the
a,
mic a little closer.
you have a hardship application for James and Angela Freeman. As you can see from their letter,
Is that what we have here?
yeah,
Okay,
looks like this.
okay.
As you can see from their letter, that they have some hard times, they have some medical issues, and it looks like they also, even though they are not old enough for Social Security, are receiving Social Security, so
it
that
don't
would be
qualify for the
Social
others.
Security
This is an
disability.
appeal to us for hardship,
Yeah,
correct?
so it is a discretionary. This one, we just need your approval to run it like we do other,
Okay, we need what now?
we just need your approval to process it like we do other
hardship.
disability ones.
Okay, and according to their income.
So what would be the percentage recommendation?
They are in that highest bracket, so just
What's that?
they're in the highest bracket for income,
Okay, which is
the 20%.
20%? Okay, that's a recommendation, 20%. We can
Yeah.
do what we want. Okay, back to the commission for discussion on the hardship application.
I think we should go with what they recommend according to the income.
Okay. Need a second or not?
So we're making a motion.
Oh, I just thought we were discussing it.
Okay.
I'd make a motion that
We need it, well, give me a motion and then we'll discuss the motion. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I make a motion that we accept this hardship application for the 20% that's recommended.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second that we accept the hardship application at 20%. Discussion to that motion. Seeing no further discussion, I'll ask for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay, thank you very
Thank you.
much.
And the only other thing before you leave BOE is if you would like to make a decision on the Kessler, because you do not meet as BOE again, so if you don't make a decision before we close BOE, then it will still remain an open appeal, and we would like to close it if possible.
Back to the Kessler's properties for discussion. Any comments or opinions or assessors left? What do you want to do? How do you want to proceed?
Well, without any comparables, I can't make an adjustment without comparables.
Is that a motion or?
I just seeing what you guys have to say, and then I can make a motion.
Well, let's get a motion, then we'll discuss it.
Okay. I make a motion that we accept the assessor's assessment for the property.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Okay, let's have some discussion of that motion. Go ahead and give your discussion, or do you have any discussion?
I just feel that we don't have anything to compare it to make a judgment on whether it should be changed.
And I agree with Vicki that we could, but it also didn't give the assessor a notice to make sure to be able to have that here today. So it's,
Yeah, I'll make some comments. I think, we've done quite a few of these now, and Matt's still sitting here, and for us to sit here, everybody here obviously thinks their taxes went up. So we have them, or they know their taxes went up. They don't think it. They actually know their taxes. And as a BOE, it's really hard to use that to start picking and choosing is why we would change. I think in every instance, you have to remind me if we haven't, when we've had a certified appraiser who has come in and they've gone to the effort to appraise it and make we have basically give some preference to them in maybe some reductions, not to what the appraised value, but in the combination. And I think we did that all the time. I found that comparisons are confusing. Comparisons have value, but they don't always have value because my comparison and your comparison is two different things. There's not enough standard there. As we've had discussions, I don't want to waste time, but it seems like to me, I don't know how to get them, but with what's come in here, there's probably 10 or 15 ways to get online and get comparisons. And we always have the question, was that comparison justifiable or not? So, Matt, in your case, it's really hard for us to be consistent. Not only those in BOE, I think all of us sitting here, I mean, the reasoning behind why my taxes went up, yeah, everybody's taxes went up, and everybody agrees with that, but we have to have just a little more information. So to maybe satisfy that, I've asked our assessor to follow through with you a little better. I appreciate your bringing us to note about what the assessor can or can't do when accessing property, that we all have a reverence and respect for those property rights. So any more, I have a motion and a second that we accept the assessor's values. Any more discussion to that? If not, I'll call the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. So thank you very much.
That's everything we have for the Board of Equalization.
everything?
Yes.
I'm glad. So let's go on to the next item of discussion.
Do we need to leave BOE?
Yes, we need to leave BOE, so I need a motion.
I
to
make a
leave.
motion that we leave BOE.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second discussion that motion that we leave BOE back to our commission agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay, we're out of BOE. Next item on the agenda, discussion and possible approval of Resolution 23-11-14, a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Millard County, Utah, authorizing the extension and delivery of municipal lease purchase agreement for equipment leases by the Millard County Sheriff's Office. This is in retrospect that some information that was brought to us for continued leases in the counties. The commission, after further discussion of that, the commission, Jacob, I don't know whether we need, but we've decided not to renew that lease. And what we want to do is proceed with some other options. I think those other options will be brought to us. Bonnie has some other options for resources and probably some purchases through special projects. So we'll just, if there's no other discussion on that item, we'll go on to the next item on the agenda. Pat shaking his head, we're okay, so we'll just go on to the next item. Discussion possible, let's see, Resolution 23-11-14A, resolution of the Board of County Commissioners, Millard County, Utah, authorizing transfers of unencumbered or unexpended appropriations balances between budget departments within funds. Bonnie, do you want to come forward and?
While she's coming, can I just, there
Yes,
was
go-
a discussion
go ahead.
earlier about moving money from a different fund, and I just wanted to clarify maybe for the commissioner's benefit why that there are three layers or three levels of transfers. If you're transferring money from unappropriated fund balance or between funds, that requires a public hearing and resolution. here all we're doing, and all we've noticed, is transferring money within funds between budget departments. So that's why there's not a public hearing, and that's why we can't consider moving money from capital from another fund.
Okay, all right, thank you. Bonnie, go ahead, proceed. Pull your mic
Thank
up.
you for that, too. So I've given you a list of the possible transfers to be considered. The first is elections. With the change in election and different needs in the clerk's office, she's estimating she needs another $15,000. And my suggestion is reducing the personnel budget or a combination of risk management. Listed right there on the right-hand column
Okay, any questions?
on that one.
Okay, if not, let's just go on and then we
Okay.
handle them all at the end.
And then for the law enforcement vehicle lease buyout, my suggestion is reduce the unexpended projects, specifically the Halfway Hill Fire. We didn't expend nearly what we thought we would, so we can move from that item to purchase those law enforcement vehicles.
So let me ask a question. How much was in there and how much, where are we at on that halfway? I know we got quite a bit, but have you got some numbers?
Yeah, just give me a second. Let's see. Yeah, we've only spent, we had 2.1 million, we've only spent just under 100,000 to date.
Okay.
So,
All right, so you understand where that's coming from? Okay, all right, thank you very much. Go ahead, Bonnie.
okay. And then the ARPA project, this is just a repurpose. Just this morning, I had a conversation with Clint in the maintenance department. 10,000 was set aside for the HVA system on the roof. He has been able to repair that, and to replace the system, it's going to cost more than 10,000 anyway. What his immediate need is gutters that he estimates to be about 3,200, and he thinks this needs to be done this year because the metal roof, it rips off the gutters, and so it's just to protect what there is there, and to for that infrastructure. That's about all I have on.
So we're taking
that, so.
from HVAC and putting it into gutters this year because HVAC we're going to have to look at in the future.
Yeah,
correct?
he has it repaired, so that he thinks it might work another couple of years. So,
Okay, anything else, Bonnie? If not, we'll
That's
come
it.
back to commission. We have 3 items here, the elections, the discussion we had on vehicles and moving, we didn't approve the lease. We're going to look at taking some of that out of special projects for right now, and the move of the HVAC, basically for gutters, we'll address the HVAC at another year time. So, commission for discussion, or any questions?
I make a motion to approve resolution 23-11-14A.
I second that motion.
Okay, I have a motion that we approve 23-11-14A, which is our expenditures. Any more discussion of that motion?
do you have a preference on where we take that 15,000 from?
I don't.
Okay.
What would you suggest?
Risk management, centrally assessed litigation, or personnel for,
Middle of November, I think hopefully we're safe to save the risk management budget. Okay. Agree for that.
Okay, thank you for your comments, Pat, so that's a suggestion.
okay.
So, I have a motion and a second, any more discussion? I need a roll call vote.
I call a roll call vote on resolution 23-11-14A. Commissioner Lyman?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes. Okay, let's move on to our next item, IGP waiver. Trevor, do you want to explain, do we have some waivers?
Yeah, one young man signed up for basketball, it's $50, and we've got plenty of money in there still, so I make a motion we approve
I second that motion.
this waiver.
I have a motion and a second, we approve the waiver that's been given to us. Any more discussion on that? No discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Next item on the agenda, I need a motion that we open to a public hearing.
I make a motion that we open to a public hearing.
Need a second? I have a motion, a second, that we open up a public hearing for the purpose of receiving public comment on landfill fees and RV parks. When we get in that, we'll give some more time to Trevor, but it's been difficult for us to assess the parks and what they're really doing, because we have to go through locals and others, and so we've tried to get something. We have 3 or 4 of them now. We're trying to get a fee that would be consistent with the same value for each park. And so all in favor of moving to a public hearing for that purpose, I indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay? Okay, we're now in a public hearing. For any of you who have any comments, if you want to come forward and maybe, Trevor, why don't you present what our suggestion would be, and then we'll open up to the public so we have an understanding for anybody that'd like to come forward and make comments.
We do need to have an accurate representation of everybody who is here for this public meeting, so if you have not signed the roll, please come and put your name on the roll now.
Trevor, go ahead and explain what we recommended.
So like Bill mentioned, we've had a harder time trying to figure out how to charge these RV parks. And as it currently has been, we've relied on our local garbage people to pick it up, and then they report to us what they're dumping up at the landfill, and then we charge our customers accordingly. And to take away kind of that, or not take away, but make them not have that responsibility as a private business to do that for the county, kind of on their own dime. We came up with a solution of just charging $5 per space at each RV park, standard, because one of the other problems is we had each RV park classified as something different. And so one on the east side or the west side was being charged more than the other, even though one was bigger or smaller. And it just wasn't making any sense. So as a commission, what we thought of is just charging $5 a spot per month. And that way, the local garbage people can just go in and do their business. They don't have to worry about keeping track of it there. It's fair for if you have 50 spaces, or if you have 100 spaces, you're being charged per those spaces. So that's kind of the thought behind it.
Okay, we are in a public hearing. Is there anyone from the public that would like to come forward and make any comments? Just come forward. Matt, go ahead and just reintroduce yourself in the mic here.
Okay, Matthew Kessler, and I just had a few notes I just wanted to go over. Commissioner Wright, back in the BOE part of the meeting, I noticed you used consistency and picking and choosing. Those 3 words. As a park owner, I felt like I was picked upon a little bit. There was no consistency on the landfill fees I paid for the last 5 years since the new landfill schedule came out. So I'm requesting maybe more of an audit for the last 5 years to get consistent on what I paid and credit my account back. I think that's fair, the $5 per site, but one concern I have about that is the winter months where all the sites aren't full. That's not particularly the case last year or this year, but I'm saying down the road, 2 or 3 years when we don't have a construction boom and the park's pretty well empty in the winter. That's one concern I have. So, again, I just asked the commissioner to have an audit for the last 5 years and try to get the consistency, as Bill was talking about, and we're not picking and choosing people, so it's all equal and fair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other public who wants to come forward and comment? Okay, I'd entertain a motion that we close public hearing and go back to commission discussion.
I make a motion that we close public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion, a second, we close public hearing. Any discussion to that? Favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we've closed public hearing, we're back for discussion and, let me see here where we're at. We're discussion and approval or rejection of resolution 23-11-14C, a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners of Millard County, Utah, establishing landfill fees for RV parks. To the commission, comments?
To answer your concern, Matt, over the, where the $5 come from and wintertime and everything like that, one of the things that came into thought was each of us as residents pay $13 a month. And currently, most of the RV parks are full, which they're disposing of more garbage currently than probably I do as a household, or because I've been camping before, it's paper plates, paper towels, everything is, and you're disposing of probably a larger amount than you would at home. But we didn't want it to be a hassle down the road, and so instead of charging $12 like all of our residents every month, we kind of factored in wintertime, occupancy being 40% throughout the year. On a normal year, we know that last year, this year, and next year aren't normal, but we didn't want to have to come back and adjust a fee schedule based on that. So instead of charging just $12 now and then fixing it and charging $5 in a year, we'll bite the bullet per se and just do $5 now, and that as we see it right now will stay the same moving forward, even when things slow down, because we are basing that number off of what we as residents pay per each spot. Maybe should be charged if it was full 24/7, 365.
Can I make a comment real quick?
Yeah.
If you could come forward.
Yeah, come forward so we can hear you, Matt.
So I have about 15 sites that was built 40-plus years ago that are, back in the day when trailers were a lot smaller. There's about 15 sites that the amperage, okay, I have about 7 on each side of a 100-amp breaker. There's no way I could put 7 30-amp breakers on a 100-amp breaker. There's no way I could fill that. I'd blow my breaker. So I'm saying, I actually have, I would ask that you ask the park owners what sites are available, because I literally have about, out of those 15, 7 of them I couldn't fill ever because of the way it was engineered and put in way before I even owned it. So I couldn't fill that site without having a big electrical problem. So I get your point, but there are some sites that are unusable. So we've got to figure out how many sites are usable. Thanks.
Any more comments? If not, I'll just say a few things, maybe not to Matt, but everybody else. Trevor's going to have to remind me, but it's going to be really hard to go back. I mean, we can go back and figure up your fees you paid. I think you know that. But it's really hard to go back and give credits and stuff up to this time. That's why this was brought to our attention. We're trying to fix it. I think what we're doing mitigates the problem that you've mentioned before, the difference. And that's why we're doing this, is because of that attention to that problem you brought before. Was not consistent, was not, I won't use the word fair because Jacob won't let me use the word fair. Wasn't I supposed to use Jacob? Okay, so I won't use that word. So that's really, your comments is what's brought this about. As we've recognized we do have a problem, hopefully in good faith we're trying to solve that problem. I think the only little bit of comfort we might give is, we started on this 2 or 3 months ago. We did a very good job of moving fast on it. And I don't think we've charged the fees the last couple of months. And so those that have not had to charge that fee. A couple things you mentioned for the future, there's nothing that prohibits us when we get those spaces that are not full. Basically, there's nothing that prohibits us from in the future going back and readdressing this again. I mean, this is what we're going to do right now. When we find out, we did it this way because we think not only it's equal, but it's also the easiest way to do, so we don't have a bookkeeping nightmare. Otherwise, this is a self-reporting thing. And we're only gonna charge the sites that you report. If you have sites that's not usable, then we would not expect you to pay for those sites. If you have trailers in them, that's a different thing. But if you have sites that's not usable, then don't report your number. We're gonna go to you, and we're not gonna come in there and count, and we're gonna ask you how many sites you have, just like we do everybody else. And you're gonna self-report, you're gonna tell us how many sites you have. Don't be reporting anything to us you can't have trailers in. I mean, we're not interested in charging you a fee for something you don't have a trailer of, but that's gonna be up to you. But if we return to how many sites, now we could do this. I'm not saying in the future we can't do this. If the RV parks want to report the sites that they have full, then you're gonna have to report every month the sites, and you're gonna have to keep a record of how many nights are full and how many nights are not. Now, if you wanted to do that, we could do that, but the fee would probably be $13 for the night. We've really compensated on this because we have enough citizens and others. If you got a meter in your house that's costing you $13 for your fee, and there's enough that thinks, well, what's the difference between a trailer park somewhere, an RV park somewhere, $13 a month? That's what it would be. Now, if we go back to that and you want self-reporting and figure that, then we would have to, it's just common sense and consistency, we would go back to $13. So we're trying to accommodate all those things and not creating a bookkeeping nightmare. We're trying to be consistent with what we do and make those proper comparisons. So that's all the comments I have. Did we get a motion? I need a motion or furthermore discussion or motion?
So can I just say what I,
Yes, go ahead, Pat.
the resolution is just our general fee adopting resolution that references a schedule. Am I understanding that there's not a schedule, no one's prepared a revised fee schedule for this? What we may want to do then is what I'll say is RV park shall be charged $5 per month per user.
Yeah, we wanted to set the $5, so, okay.
But then what we probably want to do is come back in for an ordinance, because we adopted our
Okay.
our uniform fee schedule by ordinance and do that. I mean, state law says we can set fees by resolution. There's not a problem doing this, but for consistency, we probably want to come back in at another meeting and actually adopt an ordinance revising and restating the landfill fee schedule and have that included on it.
So do we need to approve this resolution before we get an ordinance? Okay.
If
That
you
we-
want to start doing it now, you can, but
Okay.
we want to clean it up with an ordinance. Is site the best technical term? Is there another word that you use per trailer? So what I've got is RV park shall be charged $5 per month per usable RV site. That covered it until we,
Yeah, and they're usable, not used, but usable.
yeah.
Okay.
So can you prepare that now, or we got to come back to another meeting? Okay. Well, I need a motion and discussion of that motion that we proceed.
I make a motion, we approve resolution 23-11-14C.
I second that motion.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Any discussion, more discussion of that motion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Do we need a roll call vote on that, Pat? Okay, I'm sorry, we need a roll call vote.
Okay, I call for a roll call vote on resolution 23-11-14C. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Lyman?
Yes.
Commissioner Wright?
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. We'll proceed with the ordinance or whatever we need in a future meeting, so thank you. Next on our agenda, discussion concerning county water rights, Terry Monroe. Terry's indicated, as I think, Terry, if you want to come forward and introduce yourself, we have a lot of interest and in the state on water rights, and I think there's lots of things that's happening that maybe we need to be aware of. Terry, just in good faith, wanted to come and report to us.
Yeah, my name's Terry Monroe. I'm the regional engineer with the Division of Water Rights over the Sevier River Basin. Thank you for giving me a minute this morning to take up a little bit of your valuable time. There's a lot we could discuss. What brings me here?
We don't want to get into the weeds too far, but
Yeah.
go ahead.
What brings me here this morning is to let you know what the division's working on as far as the groundwater in the Pavan Valley. A little bit of history. As most everyone's aware, we have a overdraft problem here in the Pavan Valley. This
Is
has
there
been
any
going on
opinion on how far that overdraft is or not? Or we just use that general word, or?
That's what we're working on. In 1990, the U.S. Geological Society completed the initial study on the groundwater basin here in the Pavan. During the 90s, there was a series of public meetings held discussing that study, discussing the groundwater issues that the valley's facing, and the state engineer proposed a groundwater management plan at that time. The first step of that groundwater management plan was an attempt to control overdraft in the basin by controlling illegal water use on illegal acreage or expanded water right use. Over time, we've had a number of places where we have addressed that. Some enforcement actions have been taken, but the last time we met, the public did not want us to move forward with metering. They did not want us to move forward with commissioners. And so we've basically been trying to control groundwater withdrawal by controlling acreage irrigated. The problem has not got any better, it's gotten worse. 2 years ago, the state engineers contracted with the UGS, the Utah Geologic Bunch, to do an updated study in the basin to update the data that we have to try to come up with a safe yield of the aquifer number. Also to update the computer model of the basin with our new data. Had a meeting with UGS last week. The draft of that report, they've promised the draft of that report being out by the end of the year. The draft comes out at the end of the year. It'll take a month or two to get comments back and get the final report out to the public. When that final report is made available to the public, I plan on scheduling a public meeting here in Fillmore to discuss that report.
When will that be then, Terry? Next year sometime?
Hopefully in February or March.
Okay, it'll be soon then.
Soon. We will present the findings of that study. We will have the authors of the study here to answer questions from the public. And then the state engineer's office will take that information and we will start having public meetings and moving forward with the groundwater management plan. What that plan is going to look like, I do not know at this time. There's the statute with groundwater management plans in the state code kind of envisions a closed groundwater basin. Burl Enterprise would be a classic example of that. There's no really surface water involved at the bottom end of their valley. Luckily or unluckily, however you look at it, that's not the case here in the Pavan Valley. There's surface waters at the bottom of the thing that's impacted, which leads to a discussion of conjunctive management, things like that, which the state's never done before. But that's all issues that's going to have to be discussed and brought forward in these public meetings and moving forward with this plan. My purpose here today is simply to inform the commission that this is what's happening, that we're moving forward with this, and hopefully we can work together to come up with the solution to the problems we have. With that, I'll open up for any questions the commission has or on that, or any other wide-ranging topics you'd like to discuss.
Can I ask them a question?
Yes, go ahead. We'll come to commission, and then, I think we got some time today. We have some visitors here and that. If we'll open it up, we'll just turn you loose to everybody. If it's all right. The sheriff's not going to be here today, but we'll take care of you. Yes, Attorney Finlayson, go ahead, and then to the commission.
I want to be careful opening up to a public comment. And my question, just general, in 64, Reed Maurer prepared this study in severe basin, that we've kind of relied on for a long time. Or do you know, has the more recent studies challenged any of his conclusions? Like, he mapped all the recharge zones for the aquifers. It was a pretty amazing.
Now, which study are you?
That's that Reed Maurer one in 1960, the little orange.
Yeah,
USGS book.
UGS did their initial studies in the 60s. They redid the studies in late 80s, early 90s in the entire basin. That included Pawvant, it included the Delta area, it included the Central Sevier Valley, it also included the Sandpitch Valley. Information from those studies, different from Maurer, was noting the close hydrologic connection between the groundwater and surface water rights. Those studies that come out in the early 90s was the driving force with closing the basin to all new appropriations of groundwater. Every place we have groundwater issues. Groundwater development leads to groundwater issues. Pawvant Valley is the largest one in our area. We have contracted with UGS to start fiscal year 2024 doing a similar study in the Sandpitch Valley. Preliminary data that they talked about with the Pawvant Valley last week, it sounded like their safe yield numbers were fairly close to what GS had in the 90s. Some of the things that were discussed that was somewhat alarming to me was their technology's developed since the 90s a lot. One of the things that has been developed is LiDAR radar, where they can get very accurate measurements of ground subsidence. They've noted ground subsidence in our area. The study shows approximately 2 centimeters per year ground subsidence, so our aquifers are collapsing. Yeah, that's all stuff that's going to come out in this report.
So over on the west side, we have the DMAD companies, and they...
I don't know who them guys are.
They map...
We need to introduce you to them, maybe.
They map everything, and I think they just did it this spring. And I think it was for you guys. And
Yes, they submitted and they prepared and submitted proofs on the IPP change applications.
Who does the mapping for acreage in places like this side of the county, in Milford and Burrell, where it's groundwater, and maybe there's companies, I'm just not familiar with, pivots and that type of thing, but who controls that mapping? Because from when I was a kid, acreage has expanded over here a bunch, Milford is even more, like who's
Groundwater is all privately owned water rights.
Yeah.
Every water rights required to have submitted a proof. With that proof of beneficial use comes the map defining their limit of their water right, their place of use, everything like that. one of the efforts that's going to be taking place in my office over there is going through those maps. They're all going to be digitized. They're all going to be overlaid by the aerial photos. We're going to have a much more accurate, clear idea of what areas that are being irrigated without a water right. When we did this exercise in the 90s, we had to actually hire NASA to give us satellite photos of the area to base our acreage stuff on in the 90s. To give you them old NASA stuff, all that we could afford was, it was good to 20 meters, right? That's junk now. We're talking sub-meter accuracy on just commercial software now. But part of the effort going forward with this groundwater management plan will be mapping. One of the hard issues will be defining and addressing supplemental rights that the wells have. That will be complicated. It'll be time-consuming and a lot of work.
I guess that in your aspect, I think in the past that nothing's been, because there's been a lot of pushback in the past, but do you feel like you got more public behind this now? Agriculture's still gonna be upset with you, right?
I
Safe to
think
say.
I see farmers that are actually looking more favorably to metering now because they see everybody else expanding around.
Yeah.
I am getting much more support for the idea of moving forward with this than 25 years ago. There's a number of people in the area that are pushing hard for us to do something. There's public agencies that are pushing hard for us to do something. But yeah, I think there'll be more support, but support or not, it's an issue that's going to have to be addressed.
So if they do decide to have the wells metered, it's my understanding that when somebody puts in a well that they agree to put a meter on it, but I know that quite a few of them probably haven't done it. And I've talked to some of the legislators and asked them if we are required to do metering, if there would be some money available to help the farmers pay for the metering. Are you aware of any money that might be available?
Well, metering's been a hot byword to the legislators the last few years. They've passed several bills with funding attached to them to provide metering money. The largest one I'm aware of is the secondary water metering stuff. I think it was $200 million they provided to help people put secondary meters in. That was not on-farm metering. That would be like secondary meters within communities and things like that. State law requires that if you have a water right, you're required to measure it. Groundwater's kind of had a pass in the past. Anything approved nowadays requires meters. Trouble with meters, it requires somebody to read them, something to do with the data. So those are issues that would need to be discussed in the future with public meetings and things like that. But
It feels to me like a lot of the expansion just amounts to people ignoring the duty.
there's lots to argue about there, yes. A lot of the expansion, in my mind, comes from some of the wells that originally were supplemental and probably being stretched more than they were supposed to be. But that's what we're going to have to, that's the ball of twine we're going to unravel.
This is not a public hearing, but,
You got public input next if you want to just go to that.
I'm going to invite, we got public input. If there's anybody here that'd like to come. Dennis, do you want to ask your question, or you're good? If there's anybody here that'd like to, Kerry don't meet with us all the time.
I
Probably seldom. If anybody'd like to ask a question, you're welcome.
I hope that you will allow me to make this at least an annual event for me to come over and
Yeah, we won't prohibit
And
that.
share-
If you
and share
don't
your
come, it's
stuff.
gonna be because you don't.
No, it's something, since I've got in this job, it's something I want to do with each of the counties in my area. I want to develop those relationships and develop those line of communications.
I appreciate you coming over. It's always good to be informed.
So I'll be back, I guess.
So, I have this kind of perception as we head into this project that one of the premises and a lot of the support for those people up north that we're getting to do this is they have this idea they're going to find some water and learn how to move it to the Great Salt Lake. I mean, how do we draw anything, anything we find stays here? That's what my perception is. That's a lot of motivation behind them, is, oh, we're gonna go down there and find some water. Maybe that's wrong. I don't know if you want to make a comment or not. So as we do this, how do we protect those property rights for those people in this valley? I mean, I think as we do more of this, regardless, our assumption is we're not going to find anything, but I think we could assume one of the jeopardies is that there's going to be a lot of people out there trying to get water that they wouldn't have a right to before, and this is going to give them some kind of right to take that water. Is that a warped sense or mind or what? I mean,
I will not comment on the intent of the legislature. However,
somebody will come along and figure out how they can get water out of this valley to the Great Salt Lake, and everybody's going to be on board. So anyway.
if there's one thing to be said that's true about this valley, is there's more water being used out of the valley than is being put in by recharge. Moving forward, the templates we have to pattern this after is Borough Enterprise, Parowan, places where this has been done in the past. In the 1990s USGS study, the misbalance between recharge and discharge from the wells, if I remember the figures correctly, the annual discharge was somewhere around an average of 120,000 acre-feet of water. That study put safe yields somewhere in the neighborhood of 68 to 70,000. That 50, 60,000 acre-foot annual difference
It's only half.
is what's causing the groundwater to drop like it's done. That's the issue that we would be addressing. It's not finding surplus water. It's protecting our resource here so we can go forward in a sustainable manner.
Okay.
I would think a lot of mutual irrigation companies would be in favor of some kind of agreement, some kind of plan, and Andy can agree or disagree, maybe I'm wrong, but they're held to their acreage, they're held to their water duty, and they watch everybody that's pulling groundwater out expanding like crazy,
Well,
and say, well, look, we have to stick to a certain acreage, why don't they?
I understand everybody's concern.
Any other comments or questions? If not, thanks for coming, and you're welcome to come back anytime.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you for your
We
time.
probably won't remember to get you on the agenda, but if you'll just help us, and if you have something to report, we'd be glad to take time in commission meeting, and
I appreciate that.
and
Thank you
we'll
for your
look
time.
forward to that hearing. I don't know if there's enough room here. You might want to have that in Delta or something in a bigger.
It'll be on the east side. It won't be in Delta. It'll be in the Paul Van area.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Is there any, let's go on the agenda. Is there any other public input on any other items? You've had a chance on water. Do you have any other items that you need to discuss? Excuse me. Seeing none, other business. Discussion and possible, yes, go ahead.
I guess I can wait till we get down to each commissioner.
Okay, discussion possible appointments of various county boards. each of you commissioners, bear in mind, we're going to go into a new year here. Each of us work with different boards, and usually at the beginning of the year, we'll have those that have served their time, and we need to do some reassignments or basically consideration. So look at the boards you work with and just see what needs to be done. Possible approval of applicants for settlement of deferral of delinquent property taxes. None. Discussion by each commissioner, county attorney, elected official, or secretary.
There's just one thing I'd like to mention. If you guys listen to Mid-Utah Radio, they're mentioning that BLM, Forest Service, is considering making 3 areas wilderness study areas. I don't think any of it's actually in our county, but it affects like Sevier County, maybe Paiute County. Anyway, if you would like to comment on this possible wilderness land that they are thinking about making, if you get on the radio's website, you can go to a spot where it'll tell you how to comment. I myself do not like to see land turned into wilderness land, because then the only way you can access it is by walking, and some of us are getting old enough that we can't walk 100 miles a day, so I'd like to keep it open. So anyway, if any of you feel like commenting, you can just go to Utah Radio and find the link and make a comment.
Okay, thank you very much. Pat, county attorney, do you have any discussion or anything you want to bring up? Okay. Possible review of county policies and contracts. You have something, Bonnie.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Just in reviewing our position on our 2023 budget, we're going to have to open the budget to possibly amend. Specifically, both of our pools are over budget on utilities with the increase in the cost of utilities and power adjustments. They're already over. So, which they don't have enough padding in the rest of their operating budget to sustain the overages.
Is there any other items or just those two right now?
Right now, that's the only.
In recreation
Yes,
is what
and
we're
so-
talking about.
Yeah, so in December,
You'll give us some numbers, and we'll possibly have to have a public hearing to open the budget.
Right.
Okay.
yep,
Has Fillmore City called you at all?
no,
Okay, because I talked to Collie Monroe about our concern or our issue,
okay,
and he said he'd look into it, so I just checking to see if
okay. Who was it?
Kyle.
Kyle Monroe? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Just be aware, commissioners, and Bonnie, between now and our next meeting, when is our next meeting?
The 5th of December?
Okay, get us some numbers so we'll know what
Okay.
we're doing, okay?
All right,
Thank
thank
you
you.
very much. Sorry, almost missed you. Meeting of the Board of Directors, Redevelopment Agency of Millard County, we have none. We don't have anything on the table there. We'll have some more stuff in the future. Pat, closed meeting, we're good? Okay, no closed meetings. Commission work meeting, nothing. Let me remind you that we have a meeting after with our HR, Jacob, and elected officials. So if there's nothing else, we'll adjourn. Thank you. Jacob, you're up in a few minutes.